Hey listeners, last year was our 15th year of the best in food storytelling. As we head into 2025, we're kicking off a contest in collaboration with the podcast series Feast and Harmony and Sixth Man, where you have the opportunity to win a 4-night cruise for 2 on Chefs Making Waves, a food, wine, and spirits festival at sea. When you donate to HRN, you'll be entered for the chance to win a porthole cabin for 2 on Chefs Making Waves, sailing May 5th through 9th, 2025, from Miami to Cozumel, Mexico on Norwegian Gem. You'll also support another year of great food storytelling with a portion of your donation going toward disaster relief for the food and beverage communities within Western North Carolina and Southern California. This cruise is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for culinary adventurers, featuring top celebrity chefs including Jonathan Waxman, Antonio Lafaso, Robert Irvine, and many, many more. There's a myriad of experiences such as restaurant takeovers, live food and mixology demos, themed parties, and more. To enter your chance to win, please visit heritageradionetwork.org/cruise. Terms and conditions apply. You must be 21 or over to enter. That's heritageradionetwork.org/cruise.
You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
Hey, Gringex Chicagoans. I'm Linda from Cena Secreto. If you are in the neighborhood, you should look up Cena Secreto on Instagram. See if I'm hosting any dinners or tastings upcoming. Can't wait to see ya. SEYNA Secreto. Secret with an O.
This episode is brought to you by Wisconsin Cheese. Wisconsin, the state of cheese, makes half of the nation's specialty cheese and wins more awards than any other state or country. Our heritage and traditions, master cheesemaker program, and the American propensity for innovation all put Wisconsin on the cutting edge of cheesemaking. With over 600 varieties of cheese to choose from and 5,500 national and international awards and counting, get ready to turn your refrigerator into a trophy case. Enjoying a Wisconsin cheese is basically like winning a gold medal in culinary achievement. Set your mind at cheese. When you bite into a wedge of Wisconsin Wonderful, you know it is made with the ultimate skill and passion possible. Find your next favorite cheese at wisconsincheese.com.
I'm Lube.
And I'm Linda Sullivan.
And this is Agave Road Trip, the critically acclaimed award-winning podcast that helps Gringex bartenders better understand agave
spirits.
and rural Mexico. Hey, Linda.
Hey, Lou.
I think Mezcal is no longer having a moment.
What?
I know, right? So it struck me there was this period of about 2 years where if you go to sacredagave.org, right, the website of the nonprofit that I run, you'll see all of these news clips. And for like that first couple of years, it's even more than that. It's got to be almost the first 4 years, maybe even 5 years.
Of Sacred's existence?
Yeah, since 2017. You start looking, and I was quoted in articles, media coverage, I would say at least once every 2 months.
Oh, that's frequent.
That's frequent.
Yeah.
Right? And then I suddenly realized I was just recently on this other podcast, Slow Baja. Yeah. My friend Michael runs that podcast. And so I was on the podcast and I added it to the Sacred website, to the media page. And I realized, I've only had like 4 hits in the last year.
Why isn't anyone calling me for quotes?
That's
what you thought.
Am I not pretty anymore? Right? But I thought it is odd. Like, what has happened? And so then as we were preparing for this episode, and I thought we have to have something to talk about, I was thinking, what can we talk about? So I went and I Googled Mezcal having a moment.
Okay, this is Lou style research. One Google should do it.
One Google should absolutely do it. And then, clicked on news because people say it all the time. But
Sure.
like news stories, that's what I'm like, news stories.
That's got to be what defines a moment, is news.
Right. And then I whittled that down.
Cold is a good word.
Cold is a very good word. Down to the past month. Linda,
What happened in
how
the
many
Googles?
hits do you think I got? How many articles in the past month mention Mezcal and having a moment?
I mean, if you were getting pulled for media coverage once every other month for years,
Yeah.
I would think at least 15 or 20.
One.
Oh,
And
dun dun dun.
it's from the a magazine called Australian Traveller.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah. And it's under it's in the article 30 of the best bars in Sydney right now.
Oh, wow, that's very specific.
Mezcal is having a moment in Sydney.
Is its moment over in the rest of the places?
Well, that's, that to me is the relevant question. If I expand it out to like the past year, right, I get 2 pages worth of hits. I don't know how many that is. I'm not going to do
Yeah,
that.
20 maybe, 25. That's more what I was thinking for a month.
Yeah.
But that's a year. So now my brain wants to pick it apart, right? What are the variables that define or create a moment? Like, are we even right that it's news hits? I think yes, because I like it when we're right.
Well, look, I don't think it is news hits. I think people tend to, people's behavior tends to be modified more frequently by what their friends say than what they read. I think what they read becomes more important to them in some sense. If you ask them, oh, well, I heard a story on the news.
And then they feel justified in whatever their lived experience is already showing them.
Right. But the lived experience, I think, is literally more often molded by the things that their friends say to them.
I see that to be true. I would also say there's a little bit of a cyclic nature here because what does the media want to make videos about, put out photos of, write articles about? They want to do whatever is cool, things that are trending, things that, right? And maybe you look at numbers, how many Mezcal cocktails sell or whatever. Okay, that's a lot. Let's write about it because it's cool. Now people want, whether they're reading it, consuming it on social media, they want to see it. And then that could affect their actions or it could cycle the other way, right?
Right. Exactly that.
So whatever a moment is, it's gone now, right?
But I just got one of Sacred's supporters down in Houston had just ordered a bunch of copitas because he wants to introduce his friends to Mezcal.
Oh, great. I love that.
Right. But even in that, he wrote, and one of them attended your tasting in Houston back in 2018. So I feel like there's this weird dichotomy going on, and I can't figure out the difference here between the two, or the juxtaposition of the two pieces. Where, okay, so we're not seeing the articles as much anymore. We are seeing somebody like, say, John Douglas, right, who opens up an all agave-centric bar in the middle of Bourbon Town, right, in Louisville, Kentucky. So that says something about it, that it has the customer base to survive. And then I'm looking at the numbers from Discus, the Distilled Spirits Council of the U.S., in terms of the sales of tequila and mezcal, which they lump together as one category that they call tequila/mezcal because they don't know the word phrase agave spirits.
Quixote spirits. We decided a few episodes ago that we were changing the category. You and I are changing it.
Yes, we are.
Right?
Yes.
It's official.
Thank you. And I look at that, and then I look at the numbers from the CRT, and we don't have 2024 numbers from Comercam, the regulatory body that isn't the only one, but the primary regulatory body
When
for
do those
mezcal.
come in?
Whenever they feel like it.
That's very specific.
But, I'm guessing we haven't jumped from 3.5% of tequila, which is what it was in 2023, right? I don't think we're up to like 50%.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder, is the growth over? And if, is it over? People are still interested, obviously. People are still listening to this podcast.
A few, besides me, because you don't listen.
I don't listen.
Somebody besides me must listen.
Connie doesn't listen, or she would have left me years ago.
Son of a gun.
I know. But, I think it's an interesting place. And I think in a way it could be a good place.
Now, I feel somewhat ill-equipped to kind of assess this, but at least I can come with curiosity and questions. But I want to be in that economist brain that says, okay, all these factors, group of numbers, all the ones you just mentioned, public influence, how many news articles we see. I want to know, what is the most important category to define the moment? I almost want to go, maybe this was more in the early 2000s. Do you remember when shows, they used to go out with a guy on the street and a microphone and ask people questions in Times Square?
Yeah.
I want to do that because when I think too, over this time that we're looking at from moment to now, there was also a global pandemic. And now I'm not a good source for this, but a lot happened in the spirits world that was unexpected and weird.
Oh, yeah, no,
right?
yeah.
Because we could still buy spirits. People learned how to make cocktails at home in a way that they had not since I've been alive.
Or buying canned ones.
Yes, it all was happening. Now, I know that you, of course, in our world of agave nerds, there were a number of virtual tastings. I sat outside in a little lawn chair, invited my girlfriend over. We sat in the lawn, but close enough to the house so we could still get the Wi-Fi on the phone and, with our tiny bottles, and then followed along in a tasting. I did that with lots of non-agave friends. That's only my lived experience, right?
Is that how you separate your friends? There's my agave friends and my non-agave friends.
Bro, I just opened the Pandora's box of post-evangelical trauma. Stop the recording. Oh no. You're either an agave friend or a non-agave friend. It's black and white, baby.
Don't use that particular comparison. Anyway, so all of this is going through my head, but I do I keep coming back to the notion that maybe this is a good thing.
Why do you like it?
Well, okay, so here's what I think could make it good if the moment is over. Is because there's this move, there has been for decades now, this move towards the commercialization of Mezcal that's converting it in, it can't always be everything is converted from culture to commodity. And I think you and I have had this conversation. Yeah. But, I see that there is that movement. And once you start that movement, resources are going to be consumed for one or the other. And it feels to me like the trajectory that we've been on is the resources have been moving towards the commodity, even as the small little bubble that you and I live in with our agave friends, right? All we talk about is, I shouldn't say all, but primarily what we're focused on is the culture.
Right.
And so what does that mean, particularly in the context of the people who live in that agave bubble with us are largely people who are working in the industry, in hospitality, who are trying to make that bubble bigger.
Right. We want to convert.
Yeah.
All our non-agave friends.
You're back to evangelical
to
agave
again. Friends. I just switched evangelizing categories, I guess.
Yeah. And, I don't want to suggest somehow that that's wrong or bad, but I think that there are consequences to that because, as you convert those friends to coming over to these spirits, are they going to have the same level of attention to detail?
Please sign this NDA that says you will not participate in the commercialization. Okay, welcome to the Agave Friends.
And you don't even know what the commercialization is.
Do you think that the moment is then connected to the commercial aspect? Do there have to be for something to have a moment, kind of in this loose way that we're talking about it? Do the numbers have to reflect that? Or is it more the sense? Like what you're saying about the 3%? What if tequila mezcal didn't change at all? The moment was, and now the moment is not. It's not necessarily connected to the numbers.
God, it's a good question. I think it has to be connected to the numbers, but...
What's the difference between a moment and a trend? Do you think there's Venn diagram overlap there?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Now we're talking rhetoric. And I feel like the real issue here, for me at least, the real issue here to me is the survival of our species. So so we're going from Mezcal having a moment to we're going to destroy our planet, and there's a lot of space between those 2 points.
I think there's a few things.
A few things, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like if we stop talking about moment, if we stop talking, I've been seeing all of these spiritual cacao tastings now that I feel like, right? Like, I think there's a way to pay attention to it and to honor it without fetishizing it.
Yes.
And I think it's the fetishizing with people who don't understand the fetish, who then lead it down a commercialization path that I think can harm it.
You know what, that good example with the cacao ceremony, it reminds me of what may have happened to yoga practice.
Tell me after I swallow this water. Tell me more.
Well, I'm that the last bit that you said, what is the difference between can you truly honor, teach, experience a new cultural thing that might be outside your own history, your realm of knowledge, whatever, without fetishizing it and causing change that like vanillas it along the way. I think that's sort of the same arrow that the commercialization is having.
Yeah.
And so that now you've got, yoga classes, core power, things that are much more fitness related. And I can at least think of just a number of practitioners I know in my own life who they're not big fans of that because you're sort of leaking out the cultural details and the context in which those poses, sharing that time together, etc., might have been meaningful in how that practitioner learned.
Oh.
And now here I go with my little weights and my mat and I do my thing at, no one from Core Power has been harmed in this opinion making. But a place like that's just one that I thought of, but you go and I do my little weights and there's, whatever kind of music on and this, and then I pay my money and I leave.
Wait, so
a little more transactional.
Like it won't work for the numbers, but are you in essence saying that that yoga is mezcal and Pilates is tequila?
That's kind of good.
Huh.
That could be.
It could be the same kind of thing. Because I don't think Pilates has any kind of cultural.
I not that I know of. It's like a core resistance, like focus training. I don't know if there's any cultural detail to it, but I know there definitely is. We know there is for yoga.
Oh, that's interesting. I jumped onto, separate from all of this, but now I feel like I can pull it in. I jumped onto to Reddit for the first time in months this morning. And anybody who got a response from me, sorry if you found it insulting. But I jumped on.
You came out alive? You went into Reddit and came out alive?
Oh, I got in at like 5 a.m. and I got out at 5:30 a.m. So,
nice and quick.
God only knows what'll show up, in my inbox in a few months when I'm anyway.
Yes.
But there was a guy who posted to the Mezcal board on Reddit 14 days ago. That's 2 weeks in our parlance. Posted this piece here. He's anyone else? I'm reading. What's your name here? Co-Marmot. Colorado Marmot? Anyway, anyone else enjoy a shot of mezcal in a michelada? ? Now, yeah, right? That sounded pretty good at 5 in the morning.
2 weeks ago, that wasn't from like 209? 209. Yes, 209 is what
room
we're now
209
calling.
just checked in.
We're calling 2009.
So he wrote, started, I know I'm going to get roasted here.
Oh,
He didn't.
Oh, that's nice.
It is nice. This is what I'm saying. Like, I feel like maybe the other side of this is we've gotten through that whole precious, like people were like, oh yeah, it sounds good. Sounds delicious. I'm going to try that soon. Like all of these people were like, nobody so far. And it's 2 weeks. So I
That's
guess.
so un-internet of all of those people who responded. Great job.
Right? And it had 12 upvotes. Like nobody responded, you would never do that with a beautiful mezcal. And, and I thought, oh, maybe we're over that. Maybe.
Do you think that now the standard lay person consumer thinks that they know about mezcal? Now that maybe the moment has some connection with sort of the way that we introduced, I'm going to say taught, because in air quotes, I think that the bar is really, really low here. But do you think people now, mezcal is being used in cocktails, et cetera? Maybe it had, not maybe, it hadn't before.
Yeah.
We didn't really have a narrative for it. That beginning bit of like, it's kind of like tequila, but smoky, right? Like, do we now, we regular people, do we think we know mezcal? And so we're like not having light bulb moments about it anymore?
Well, I think that is sort of it, which then brings me back to the concern. So, I went from unconcerned to concerned. Right? I was hanging out in Guatemala a week and a half ago with these guys, including the chefs and bartenders from this restaurant in Guatemala City that is on the world's 50 best list.
Oh,
right?
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, really, really nice crew that work there, and they told me that they had a mezcal cocktail on their menu, and it didn't matter what the cocktail was. Whatever cocktail had mezcal in it was always their best-selling cocktail.
Oh.
Yeah. And so I think there is that sort of familiarity without the complete understanding. It's like, oh, this is the cool one.
Yes.
And so that's the cocktail you get. And the danger of that is that I think takes us back towards commodification. Even as we're no longer precious about, I'm almost going to contradict myself now. Like, we're no longer precious about mezcal and a michelada on a Reddit page.
Right.
With that, like, that's the definition of Reddit.
Right. Everyone would come in with their swords ablazing, so to speak, and be like, don't do that. Keep it out. Yeah, I think Reddit might, what do you call it? Like, do not, and you put the apostrophe in there, it becomes a contraction. Yes.
I think Reddit is a contraction for ready to take some shit.
Reddit.
I think that's when there should be an apostrophe in there. Anyway, so for like that to be up there and not attacked, which I'm in favor of, might also be the sign that we no longer pay much attention to it and don't treat it special. And
right. Did we because we've talked before about, it takes so many touches for somebody to be like create a habit or to really, feel like they've experienced something. Oh, I tasted it 7 times, not just the once. Right.
Yeah.
And I always thought of that as positive. I give somebody their first touch to mezcal, right? I do my sniffing on the hand and this too, and we talk about flavors. I love that, right? Somebody, who has never done that before, never even knew that there was cool stuff to explore in that little veladora, right? But have we failed? Have we introduced them all and then left them? That almost makes me, I'm being a little cheeky, right? Because definitely you and I didn't fail. But did all of us?
No, either we all fail or we don't. And,
that's what I mean. Like, did we bring them in and then not bring them far enough to the appreciation details, to the culture details? Is it now just, does anyone want a margarita? Yeah, man, I love mezcal. And you're like, mezcal. But yeah, I don't know. I would be willing to carry some of that burden.
Yeah, well, I think that's an excellent point. I think truly, it is the point, because I don't know how far somebody is willing to walk with you alongside you in this unknown field, right? Like, people have so much going on in their lives.
Yeah.
You have to pay for your food, your clothing, your house. You've hopefully got a job. If you don't have a job, that can be even more stressful than having a job. Maybe you've got to take care of a dog who has seizures. Maybe, like, you've got so much going on. How do you pay attention to every little last thing that you consume?
Right. No, I think it would, and that makes me think, about, if you're just scrolling Instagram. I looked up from my phone the other day and, 45 minutes had passed. And I hate even admitting that. But what are the videos that I'm scrolling? They're interesting. A lot of them are about cocktails and beverage culture. And some of them are about the land and process details about this world, but others are, dance videos and cooking videos, stuff, right? Like things I'm interested in. But a video that gets the most views, it's going to be under 10 seconds, right? I worry sometimes about how shortened our attention spans have become, right? It might take me 7 or 8 minutes to talk to you at just like an intro monologue about agave that we're about to taste, right? In person or virtually. But you look at something, mezcal cocktail, this and that, 4 seconds, it looks delicious. It has this pretty garnish. Boom. I love mezcal. That's what I want. I don't know. I don't know if the education content about the cultural details and some of the, I guess, softer elements, the less commercial elements. I don't know if the 4-second model is their best delivery method. So I wonder if that shoots us in the foot.
Right. The 4-second delivery model is it's smoky tequila.
Which, as our Gring X bartenders know, we take issue with.
Yeah.
Why do I feel sad? I feel sad in this
I mean,
conversation.
hey, you're sitting here with me.
Well,
but
that's a wrap.
yeah, there you go. I do too. I think this is, but I think this is the big question that we've sort of danced around forever for this world's longest moment is how do you keep this relevant and important and get people to pay attention to something, even as you recognize that they can't. They just simply don't have the capacity.
They don't have capacity. That was the word I was just thinking too.
Yeah. When you consume so many different things in a day. I mean, here we are eating this chocolate that I love. And I've got a better idea than most people about the chocolate. But, even this, I bought this specifically because it had Sal de Gusano in it. At this little chocolate shop in Guadalajara a week and a half ago. But I'm not even sure where the cacao came from on this. I was fast. Oh yeah, look at that. I do know. It was in the Yucatan. Oh, there you go.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, but I didn't know that when I ate it. I knew I bought it from a place I trusted, which I think puts me in the spot of that person who's ordering the mezcal cocktail. I'm trusting the bar.
Right. You're trusting that person is giving you a good experience, something that's going to taste delicious.
And is reasonably going to. I mean, if I'm buying it in a store in Guadalajara, it's from the Yucatan. Like, there's some carbon trail, right, that made its way, but maybe minimizing it. Which, boy, so I think maybe the upshot is, hey, Gring X bartenders, there's even more weight on you now that we're no longer in a moment.
Yeah, no pressure, but bring the moment back.
No, don't bring the moment back. No. That's not my rap. My rap is like, this is fine. We don't need the moment back, but use this lull time. Like, they just want that mezcal cocktail. So diversify the mezcals you're putting in the cocktail.
Or throw a little flight on that menu.
Oh, always the flights. I love the flights.
Me too. The conclusion is flights.
Flights. Okay. Is that really you have anything else?
I don't think I do. I mean, I like poking around in these categories, and when we chat, I don't feel like we need to, and rarely do we land on the solution. Right. We're not solving the world's problems here. We're just kind of swishing them around and see what squeaks out.
We're exacerbating them.
Yeah, that might be true. But I think it's fun to think about, and can help us be self-aware of the things we put in place. Maybe I think about that when I'm training a bar team on a cocktail, and I say, hey, I know you guys have all tasted this mezcal before, right? But we've not used it in a cocktail in your program. And here's why. We split the base like this. Maybe, it's this and here's what we're looking for. And here, so talk about that with your guests. That would kind of be an actionable detail. I'm going to say, here's where this grows. Here's why we chose it. Things that are, I don't know, bite-sized, but not cheap bites, not cheap bites, just little ones.
I like that.
All right.
Okay, I'll call that the wrap. You call that the wrap?
Let's wrap it up.
Okay, Linda, I'll catch you next episode.
See you later, amigos.
Hasta pronto. You've been listening to Agave Road Trip, the critically acclaimed award-winning podcast that helps Gring X bartenders better understand agave spirits, and rural Mexico. We're blessed with sound engineering by Roy Sierra and a theme song performed by Gabriel Oliveira and Marco Ricos. Sign up to become a road tripper and listen to more episodes at agaveroadtrip.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please let us know. And if you hated it, well, I'm sure you'll let us know that too. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram at Agave Road Trip. Agave Road Trip is a production of 10 Angry Pit Bulls, Inc. Agave Road Trip is powered by Simplecast. Thank you for listening to Heritage Radio Network. Heritage Radio Network is food radio supported by you. For our freshest content, subscribe to our newsletter. To subscribe to the Heritage Radio newsletter, enter your email at the bottom of our website, heritageradionetwork.org. Connect with Heritage Radio Network on Instagram and Twitter at heritage_radio. You can also find Heritage Radio Network at facebook.com/Heritage Radio Network. Heritage Radio Network is a nonprofit organization using the power of educational storytelling about food to build a more equitable, resilient food system. Heritage Radio Network couldn't do that without support from listeners like you. Become a part of the world's most innovative community today. Subscribe to the shows you like. Tell your friends. And please join the Heritage Radio Network family by becoming a member. To become a member of the Heritage Radio Network, click on the beating heart of our homepage. Heritage Radio Network can become addictive. Programming you hear on Heritage Radio Network might lead you to eat, drink, and listen to more programming on Heritage Radio Network. If you drink, please do not drink and drive. Drink responsibly. Drive responsibly. Eat responsibly, too. And listen to Heritage Radio Network responsibly. To listen to Heritage Radio Network responsibly, wear protective earbuds. While wearing protective earbuds, do not drive. Do not walk either. Sit in a comfortable chair. If that comfortable chair has a hard seat, please remember to stretch every 30 minutes. If you stretch every 30 minutes, please stay within your defined stressing capacity. And consult a doctor who specializes in stretching. If you don't have a doctor, maybe Dr. Ryan Acock, the Cocktail MD, can help you out. Thanks for listening. Agave Road Trip out.